on the beat.
Welcome to Biafra Television London. IPOB, the indigenous people of Biafra, said that no Biafra referendum, no elections in Biafra. My name is Amadi Basil Uba. We are reaching you from the platform of the truth of the matter. Recently, the leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, called on Nigerian government to fix a date for Biafra referendum. But the acting president of Nigeria said that a call for a referendum is unlawful and is threatening to jail anybody calling for Nigeria's breakup. The indigenous people of Biafra worldwide condemned the statement coming from the acting president of Nigeria. They said that it is extrajudicial and ignorance of democracy. Even some elites in Nigeria said that a call for a referendum is a call for war. But the indigenous people of Biafra worldwide said that it is not a call for war. It is a democratic process to address the issue of self-determination by voting. So this issue is why we are here, to let our audience to understand the meaning of referendum, that a referendum is not a call for war. It is a democratic process to settle the matter of self-determination by voting. The indigenous people of Biafra said that they don't want the civilization in West Africa to go down. They don't want violence. They don't want war. They want democratic process to address, to settle the matter of self-determination, not war. Indigenous people of Biafra said that those of them saying that a call for a referendum is a call for war, that they are the people who are instigating war in Nigeria, not the indigenous people of Biafra. The indigenous people of Biafra said that they are demonstrating their right to self-determination under United Nations Charter and the African Union Charter on human and the people's right. This is the truth of the matter. So Mr. Kala is going to tell our audience why the indigenous people of Biafra is calling for a referendum. Keep watching.
Well, Mr. Moderator, I thank you, and I thank our audience who are always there every day listening to what we say here on this hallowed platform, the Biafra Television. Democratically speaking, Mr. Moderator, referendum is an act of trying to vote either to be in a place or not to be, as in the case of Biafra and Nigeria, which we are discussing today. Referendum. The indigenous people of Biafra have decided to restore their ancient nation of Biafra, which was robbed of them by the British during the colonial era. Yes. So because of that, the indigenous people of Biafra, we do not have any other avenue through which to achieve this glorious goal, rather than following the democratic principle of voting in a referendum that must be conducted and supervised by the United Nations and the African Union, ECOWAS, and all lovers of freedom all over the world. Referendum is never a call for war. Rather, those that are calling for war is the Nigerian state and the Fulanis, who see the indigenous people of Biafra as their eternal slave. Call for referendum can never be war unless it is from the perspective of the feudalists who have subjugated our people for so long. Referendum is never a war. Referendum is never a call for war. Referendum is rather a civilized way of achieving the resurrection of Biafra without involving violence. The indigenous people of Biafra, as a restoration of Biafra movement, has been following the laid-down principles of international laws, norms, in order to make sure that the quest for the restoration of Biafra is never translated to be a call for war or secession, because seceding means you are seceding from a place that you were, or a place that you voluntarily entered into agreement to be part of. But in the case of Nigeria and Biafra, the indigenous people of Biafra has never for one day sat with other indigenous people that make up Nigeria to decide that they want to be part of Nigeria. That is the first point. So, as it has been, the blood of the indigenous people of Biafra has been used since 1945 to flush the iniquities of Nigeria. So the indigenous people of Biafra, having seen and having passed through all this difficulty, decided to call the international community to look into the Biafra issue. I submit to our audience and international community at large that a call for referendum is never a call for war.
Of course.
What I'm saying in effect is this, that the indigenous people of Biafra seeking for a referendum to decide their fate in Nigeria is never a call for war. Rather, it is one of the democratic principles or tenets which every democratic setting must adhere to in order to avoid chaos and anarchy in the society.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Carl. Yes, the people of Biafra will now decide whether they will continue with the unfair treatment coming from the Nigerian government for decades, whether they will continue or not. You see that many Biafrans, the youth, the Nigerian government and the politicians have enslaved the destiny of the youth for decades. That is why if you come to Biafra land, the youth are running away from our land. If the Biafra land is okay for our youth will not run away. They will stay in our land. When they graduate from higher institutions, they will run away from our land. So we have to address those issues, otherwise we are going to destroy our future generation, which we cannot continue with the situation. The situation is very terrible and we cannot continue with it. We must vote. We demand a referendum to vote. Whether Nigeria likes it or not, what we want is a referendum, because we know that Nigeria is signatory to international law and democracy. Therefore, they will heed to the tenets of democracy and the international law. So the right thing Nigeria has to do at the moment is to fix a date for Biafra referendum, for the people of Biafra to decide whether they will continue with Nigeria or not, whether they will continue with the injustice coming from Nigeria or not, whether they will continue with the unfair treatment, killings, and so on. Now, Mr. Carlo, we still have another issue. You know, the acting president of Nigeria was saying that the call for a referendum is unlawful based on what they have in their Nigerian constitution. What do you have to say in this regard?
Mr. Moderator, it is quite surprising and ironical that a law professor, someone who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, someone who is the acting president of Nigeria, who ought to have known the stand of the law as regards to self-determination and referendum. So for a law professor, for a senior advocate of Nigeria to come out in public to tell you that self-determination means a call for war, or seeking self-determination under the Nigerian state means a violation of extant laws. That is to tell you the level that Nigeria has drifted to, beyond the level that you could get in any other clime. That is the reason why when you have your certificates in Nigeria, you want to go and work in Germany, they will put your certificate aside and ask you to go and show what you know, what you can do. So this is to tell you that Nigerian, both political and academic system is quite deplorable. How can a president, a sitting acting president, a law professor, a senior advocate, son, don't know the stance of the law? Does it mean that Osibanjo doesn't know that Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations Charter on the rights of indigenous people for self-determination? Nigeria is a signatory to African Charter on human and people's rights. So for Osibanjo, a law professor, to come out to tell the world that those who are agitating for Biafra restoration are breaking the law, that means he doesn't even know the law. That is to say that if I were in a position, I will strip him of his senior advocate this that they have given to him, because he is not worth it. If you don't know the law, that means you're supposed not to be a senior advocate, because a law, one of the characteristics of a lawyer is the knowledge of the law, the knowledge of its application. You must know all these things as a lawyer. And when you don't know what is the law, how do you justify it that you are a senior advocate? So for Osibanjo to say that it's unlawful, that means he doesn't know the law, because Biafra agitation is completely guaranteed under the United Nations law. It is completely guaranteed under the African Charter. It is also completely guaranteed under Nigerian Constitution, because in Nigerian Constitution, section 14, subsection 2, it gives a sovereignty, a legitimate sovereignty to the people. So for the people to exercise their right under the law, which is the sovereignty that they are giving out, for them to seek for a referendum or seek for the restoration of Biafra, it is not against the law.
Thank you, Mr. Kalagu. Yes, thank you, Mr. Kalagu. Yes, the acting president of Nigeria, Professor Osibanjo, made a very big mistake by saying that the Biafra agitation, or those calling for a referendum, is breaking the law. No, they are not breaking the law, because international law supports a referendum, and the international law, Nigerian international law, must override the Nigerian law. Therefore, there is no way the acting president of Nigeria will say that those calling for a referendum is breaking the law. No way.
Mr. Moderator, I want to use this last opportunity to tell our audience to remember that the 18th of November 2017 has been declared a sit-at-home day for the indigenous people of Biafra. We are appealing to your conscience. We, the indigenous people of Biafra, we are appealing to your conscience. Ndanambara, please, we appeal to your conscience. We also appeal to your reasons to never participate in any electioneering in Nigeria. Boycott every election, even if it is your father, even if it is your mother, even if it is your member of your household that is contesting any election. Boycott it. Do not go out to vote. Under no circumstances will you go to vote. Even if they are giving you pressure from the government of Anambra State, ignore them. Because this is the only opportunity for us as a people to take back the sovereignty that belongs to us. Because we have been empowering people, sending them to the National Assembly, sending them to the Senate, sending them to House of Representatives, sending them to become ministers. But you can reason with me that before your child go to the university in Nigeria, you know what you suffer. Before your child gets work in Nigeria, most of our girls, before they get admission in the universities, the lecturers, the officials, they take advantage of them. We know all these things. Most of us, before we enter the university, we sell land, our land, in order to pay for our tuition. So after all these things, you discover that after your studies, you don't have a job. After your studies, we don't have electricity. After your studies, we don't have good roads. We don't have potable drinking water. And we have been voting, we have been continuously voting for these people, and they have continuously been enriching themselves, sending their children abroad, building high mansions, riding the most expensive cars. Just check out the people at the National Assembly. When you check the list, you discover that there are some ex-governors who are now members of the National Assembly. People who have failed in ruling their states. They couldn't do anything meaningful for the people, but today they are at the National Assembly, and before they went to that National Assembly, they made laws in their states whereby they will be receiving pensions, amount of money that is exactly as the sitting incumbent governor now, they pay them this salary. And also, they also take their jumbo pay from the National Assembly. So when you look at all these things, you discover that the ordinary man have nothing to gain. So why are you going to vote? There is no need for us to vote. We don't have road. Nothing is working in our land. Our girls are in prostitution. So why are we voting? Why are we voting? After spending so much money in schools, after risking your life, going to youth service in Taraba State, in Boko Haram dominated environments, after going to youth service there, you have nothing to show for it as an individual for yourself. So when you look at it, you discover that these politicians are the criminals. These politicians are the devils. These politicians, they're supposed not to be empowered again. So we must take back our sovereignty. We must take back our land from these people. I assure you, if you boycott Anambra election in November, I tell you December, all these criminal politicians, they will be going to your house in the night to beg you. So we have decided to take back the sovereignty, and when we take back this sovereignty, that will be the end of these criminals. Because these criminals, they have subjugated us for a very long time. So when we take back our sovereignty, they will never have that opportunity again to be above the people who send them. So the people have the power, and the power must go back to the people. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Calab. Yes, we are here to discuss on this issue to make our audience and the public to understand the reason why the indigenous people of Biafra is calling for a referendum. Some people may ask questions why some elites are saying that a call for a referendum is a call for war. Yes, it has never been a call for war, but they are trying to deceive the masses. They are trying to frighten the public so that the public may not understand the meaning of a referendum. So referendum is a democratic means to address the issue of self-determination by voting. So this is a peaceful means, so it's not a call for war. Those of them saying that a call for a referendum is a call for war, they are the people who are instigating war in West Africa, and which we don't want, because we don't want the destruction of the civilization in West Africa. And we don't want violence, because the indigenous people of Biafra, we are democratic. We understand the meaning of democracy. But in Nigeria and their elite, they do not understand. However, they practice democracy. They claim that they are practicing democracy in Nigeria, but they do not understand the tenets of democracy. They do not understand the principles of democracy. They do not understand the principles of international law, which they are signatory to. So, the indigenous people of Biafra, we understand very clear that a referendum is very relevant under international law and democracy, and that is why we are calling for a referendum, and we are not calling for war. The indigenous people of Biafra, the people of Biafra, are peaceful in the quest to restore the sovereign state of Biafra, and that is why they are calling for a peaceful process to address the issue of self-determination in Nigeria. That is referendum. Thank you for being with us.
Biafra freedom, freedom is what we need now. Freedom, freedom is what we want now. Biafra freedom, freedom is what we need now. Freedom, freedom is what we want now. Calling the United Nations to set my people free. Calling the League of the Nations to set Biafra free. Lord no. Calling the African Union, talk about my freedom. Calling the four corners of this world to set Biafra free, Lord. For so long